Okay, so we have completed lesson 1. But there are a few extra things that I did manage to do with some classes, not with other classes. We didn't have enough time. But this is to show all of you some of the extra things. And now the grade 4 and 5s did not see this because I did this more of the senior phase learners. All the learners used the speech bubbles where when we go into lesson 1, we get a welcome text here and telling us what to do. But what we can also do is we can add text to speech. In the bottom left corner, we can click on add extension, and then we can choose text to speech. Now we get the option to speak. We can also set the voice. So we can set the voice for the character. We can even use kitten, but then we won't be able to hear what the kitten says because it's just going to be meow, 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 meow. So I'm just going to leave it on alter for now. And then I'm going to use the speak option where I can make him speak what I want him to say. And I can also see it. So I'm going to make him say, welcome to draw my shape. And then I'm also going to see it at the same time. So let's test this. If I go into lesson 1,
draw my shape.
Welcome to draw my shape, and then I see the text. Now I don't hear the second text because I haven't added another speak. And then I can also just copy and paste it in there. If you can't remember your copy and paste shortcuts, it's Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste. Now let's restart.
Welcome to draw my shape.
Welcome to draw my shape.
If you click on a shape, I will draw it.
And then it tells us. So now we get the vocal instructions and we can also see the instructions. Now, another fun thing we can do is we can maybe add some sound effects to each one of the buttons so that when I click on a circle, it actually says circle. So if I go to the circle, I can say, when this sprite is clicked, speak circle.
Circle.
And then he draws the circle. If I go to square, I can say speak square or, and if I, so now he says the shape before he draws it. You can go to triangle, speak, triangle. Now if I click on my triangle, it says triangle and then it draws it. Now isn't that a little extra fun step to add into the program? Now, since we have done this and everything now is working fine for my lesson 1, we now need to start lesson 2. First step is to add a new sprite. We're going to call this the lesson 2 button. And then all I need to do is I'm going to draw myself a nice colorful button. I'm going to label my button. Set the color of the text. Click where you want to type. I'm going to call this lesson 2. Then click outside. Then you can move the text to where you want it. You can even make it a bit bigger. Or my lesson 2 button is a lot bigger than my lesson 1 button. So I'm going to use the select mouse. Select everything and then make it smaller. And move it to the center. There we go. Now my lesson 2 button looks a lot nicer. Now, I need to code my lesson 2 button. The first thing I need to do is I need to have my backdrops. So for the stage, I'm going to go to backdrops. And now I have my different mazes. I have my level 1 maze. I have my level 2 maze. And I have my level 3 maze. Now, the grade 4 and 5 learners only completed 1 level. The 6 and 7 learners, we all completed 3 levels. So the first part of the lesson is going to be how to complete one level, and then I will go into part 2 explaining how to do level 2 and 3. The grade 4 and 5 learners that want to then complete this can do this. However, you will only be marked on completing level 1. So if you do not have any mazes of your own, you can attempt to draw a maze, or you can go to the website called, let me just type it out here quickly. It's called mazegenerator.com. Okay, if you go to this website, you'll be able to generate some of your own mazes. You can just type in maze generator. You don't even have to type in .com. You can just type in maze generator on Google, and it will give you a website to go and generate some mazes. To upload the mazes, you're just going to go to the little choose backdrop button, choose the option at the top, upload backdrop, and then you will have to navigate to your downloads folder and choose the maze you want to upload. Now, we're going to code our lesson 2 button. First off, we need to say, when the backdrop switches to the main menu, we want to show this button because we want to see it when we are on the main menu. So when I click on the green flag, I'm on my main menu. I want to see my button. I want to be able to click on this button. Then it needs to change my backdrop to my level 1. Then, after it changes, it needs to hide, like it did there. But now we have a problem. Our lesson 1 button is still on our screen. And if I go into lesson
Welcome
2,
to Draw My Shape.
I can see my lesson, or if I go into lesson 1, I can still see my lesson 2 button. So we need to fix this. On my lesson 2 button, I need to state that when the backdrop switches to draw my shape, this button needs to hide. On my lesson 1 button, I need to state that when the backdrop switches to my lesson or my level 1, it needs to hide. So let's test this. If I go into lesson 1,
To draw my
I do not see my 2 buttons. And if I go into lesson 2, I don't see my 2 buttons. Now, next step. We need to, if we are in lesson 2, we need to now create a character. To do this, I'm going to go to the little cat's face at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to click on the paintbrush. I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. I'm going to take the square, choose some nice funky colors, and I'm going to draw my character. There's my character. Now you can get creative, and you can maybe draw some eyes. You can maybe draw a smile. Use the little reshape button to maybe reshape the mouth a little bit. Yeah, there I have my little goofy character that needs to try and explore the maze. And you can see there on the right hand side, my character is big enough to fit inside the maze. If I make it full screen, you can see there, my character can fit inside. Now, I'm going to right click on my character and duplicate it. Why am I doing this? Because we want a winning costume as well. To indicate that this is the winning costume, I'm just going to draw a little crown on top of his head. So I choose yellow at the top, go over to his head, there's his crown. Now, this does not look like a crown, it looks like a square. So we're going to choose the little reshape button, top left. Then I'm going to add 3 new dots. Then I can pull this one down, pull that one down. Then we just need to make them pointed up here in the top. Choose to make them pointed. And then I can adjust my crown to my liking. Make it fit on his head nicely. There we go. Now this is my winning costume. There's my normal costume. Now we need to start coding. The code for the player starts by getting our starting position. So on the right hand side, we need to take our character and move him to where we want him to start the maze. Then we're going to go to events. We're going to say, when the backdrop switches to the main menu, I want the character to hide. I don't want to see my maze player on the main menu. I don't want him to be standing up here in my main menu. He does need to show when we go into lesson 2. So when I click on lesson 2, my character needs to show. So I'm going to state, when the backdrop switches to level 1, I need to first make the character go to the starting point that I've put him in. Remember, we've taken our character, we've put him in a starting position where we have an X and a Y coordinate. So we need to make him go there. And then he needs to show. Let's test this. If I go into lesson 2, I can see my character is there. But now my character now has his crown on top of his head. So I need to make sure that my character switches to costume 1 before it changes. And I also need to make sure that my character has the correct size, which is 100% at the moment. We're going to be changing this later on. Now, the next step is to ask the player for their name. So we're going to ask, what is your name? Now that we have asked the question, we can use the answer to this question in a sentence. And we can say, instead of just saying hello to the player, we can now use the answer, which is their name. And we can join it using some operators. I'm going to put the join, and I'm going to take another join and put it inside that one. Then I can say, welcome, not banana, but welcome to the person, because the person just answered the question, what is your name? So we can say, welcome, Martin, or whoever is going to be playing this game. But we also need to warn them, do not touch the walls. Because if they touch the walls, they're going to be sent back to the start. So we need to warn them not to touch the walls. It's very dangerous. Now, next up is to get the character to walk around. If you want to test this, we click on the green flag, go into lesson 2, and you can see that he's asking me, what is my name? Now I need to answer. I can say, my name is Martin. And he says, welcome, Martin. Do not touch the walls. Okay, now I know this works. Next, I need to make the player move around. We have done this code quite a few times in the past, but I'm going to explain it again. Inside Forever, I want the following 4 rules to work the entire time. If I do not put these rules inside of Forever, the buttons are not going to work. They will only work once and then they're not going to work. The Forever code allows the program to continue using this code while we are actively using it. Now, we're going to go to sensing and we're going to add key space pressed into all 4 our if blank rules. And we're going to say if the up arrow is pressed, down arrow, right, and left. To move a player or a character up and down, we need to change the Y coordinates. To go up, we change it with a positive number. To go down, we change it with a negative number. Then, to move a player to the right or to the left, we need to change X. Right with a positive number, left with a negative number. This is now going to allow me, after I've answered the question, I can now move my character around. But you can see we've got a big flaw in the system. Our character can move through the walls. So how are we going to fix this? We're going to have to set a rule. We're going to go to control, if blank then, and I'm going to state under sensing, touching color, when, if touching the color of the wall, it needs to send the player back to the starting position, which we have there. So I know if my character goes back to the starting position, that's where I need to send him. So I'm going to tell him to go to that position. So now let's test it. If I walk very carefully, but then I touch the wall, I go back to the start. Oh no. Okay. Now that we have a character that can move around and we have a rule stopping him from making mistakes or cutting cake and cutting through the walls, we need to have a finish line. So I'm going to head over to the stage in the bottom right, then to backdrops in the top left. Now, for all three my levels, I'm going to need to create a finish line. The first thing I'm going to do is choose a shape, choose a color for my finish line, and I draw the finish line. So for the square, it's at the bottom. It's very easy. You need to make it from the top down to the bottom. The circle, however, the finish line is in the middle. Now, you are going to need a different color finish line for each one of the levels. The reason for this is because we need to set a rule for each of the finish lines, saying that when we touch this color, it needs to beat level 1. When we touch that color, it needs to beat level 2. And when we beat the third level color, we are going to beat the game. Now, another thing that might happen to you is that you do not see all the lines on the right-hand side. To fix this, you will have to click at the bottom here on Convert to Vector for each one of your shapes. Then you can choose the Select button to make your shape or your maze, your picture, a little bit bigger until you can see all the lines nice and clear. There you can see now I can see my triangles lines all nice and clear. The circle I can see clearly, but I just want the circle maybe a little bit bigger so I can have my character move around easier on the inside. Okay, now that I have fixed the sizes and I have finish lines for all my levels, I'm going to go back to the coding. Now, I can set another rule, and I'm going to say, if I'm touching the color of my finish line, I need to broadcast, send a signal, broadcast a new message called winner. So that we can tell the program now that somebody has reached the finish and that they have won. Now, we are sending out a signal, so we also need to be able to receive the signal. So when I receive winner, I need to place my character to the side, make him go to that corner. Then we're going to switch the costume to 2, which is our winning costume. And then we're going to set the size to 300%. So it is nice and big there in the corner. And the reason why we want him nice and big is because the next step is to now congratulate the player. And now we can do this by using the player's name, by using our join operators and the answer. And we can say, well done, player, on beating level 1. Sorry, well done is 2 words. Well done to the player on beating level 1. So there we go. Well done, 1, 2, 3 on beating level 1. After we have done this, we have now basically completed the first level. Now, I want to show you quickly just how to add some sound effects. So we can go to sounds in the top left. We're going to get rid of the pop sound. We're not going to use pop. What we are going to use is the bonk sound effect and also the cheer sound effect. Now, what we can do with this is we can say every time we touch the wall, we can go to sounds, start sound bonk, and we can add it in there. So every time my character touches the wall, I can hear him bonk his head against the wall and I get sent back to the start. Now, when we reach the starting or the finish line, the green, we want to start the sound cheer. So now I'm just going to cheat a little bit, move the character over here. And you can hear when he reaches the start, we hear the cheer go off. And those are just some 2 fun sound effects that you can add. The next step that we can do is add some background music. We do this on the stage. On the stage, I need to go now to the sounds in the top left and get rid of the pop again. This time I'm going to go to sounds and I'm going to use the loops. I'm going to use the chill. And I'm going to add one more. Sorry, not upload. I'm going to use a loop. And I'm going to use dance chill. I'm going to add one more loop, dance funky. Then I'm going to head over to the code. Now, I can say, when the backdrop switches to the main menu, I want to play sound chill until done. Next, I'm going to say, when the backdrop switches to level 1 draw my shape, add another one for my level 1 maze. And then I'm going to start by saying stop all sounds. In fact, I can add this for the main menu as well. This is going to prevent other sounds from playing over our main menu, because now we are first stopping all the sounds before we start the new ones. On my lesson 1 draw my shape and my level 1 maze, I want to be able to hear the music more than once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside a forever loop, where I can then say play sound from funky and play sound dance chill out. This is now going to make it that when I click the green flag, I've got my nice chill music playing. When I click on lesson 1,
Welcome to draw my shape.
I get my nice funky beats going
Click on a
and it
shape,
loops
draw it.
while we are playing our game.
Circle. Square. Triangle.
Okay, and when I go back to the main menu, I hear my chill. Now, we're going to lesson 2. Answer the question. I can move my character around. Oh, I'm hitting the wall. I bonked my head. Let's go, let's see it. Oh, okay, now I'm trying to go too quick. But you get the idea. Now, the chill music on the main menu is a little bit loud. Now, how do we adjust the sound levels? If we go to sounds, you can see here the chill is very loud. To make it softer, all I need to do is click on the softer button. So I'm going to make it softer. And I'm also going to make it fade in. So we just have a nice calming music as we go. Now it's not as overwhelming when I switch from my...
Draw my
We've got a nice fade into the main menu. Yeah, but you can play around with this when you have time. And that is it for lesson 2. We can now play our game. We can move around. we bonk our head, and when we reach the finish line, we get congratulated. That's a fun little maze game. Now, this is where things get interesting. With the grade 6 and 7 learners, we were able to add a second and a third level. So, the grade 4 and 5 learners watching at the moment, you do not have to do this next part. However, grade 5 and 6 learners, grade 6 and 7 learners, you do need to do the following steps. Okay. The grade 4 and 5s that want to follow along, you are more than welcome to follow along. I'm pretty sure you all are capable of doing this. Okay. Now, because we have multiple levels, we will have to have different starting points for each one of the levels. To make different starting points, we are going to make use of variables. To do this, I'm going to delete the my variable, and I'm going to have to make a new variable for this sprite only called level. We need this level variable because when we switch to level 1, we need to set the level to 1 because we need a variable to keep track of which level we are currently on. Next, we are going to need a variable for each coordinate of the 3 levels. So that means my level 1 x. Remember to tick for this sprite only. Then level 1 y for this sprite only. Level 2 x for this sprite only. Level 2 y for this sprite only. Level 3 x for this sprite only. Level 3 y for this sprite only. And there we have all our variables. Now you're going to say, sir, I've got all my variables here on my side. To get rid of them, all we have to do is untick them on the left. So right here, you will see if we tick them, we see them, untick them, they are gone. Now, when the backdrop switches to the main menu is a nice piece of code to use for this. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to need 6 set level variables because we're going to say set the level 1x, set the level 1y, set the level 2x, set the level 2y, set the level 3x, and set the level 3y. Now this is where we're going to set the coordinates for each one of our starting levels. Now to help me go through all the different levels, I'm going to use a switch backdrop piece of code. Because if I click on level 1, which you are currently on, it will change to level 1. I can see, okay, my x for level 1 is -9. My y coordinate is 165. Now, if I want to go to level 2, I select level 2 and I click on the code to activate it. Now, for this code, my entrance is just a little bit to the right. I'm going to move my character just a little bit more down. Okay, now my level 2x is 9 and my level 2y is 155. Let's go to level 3. Now my entrance is all the way here on the left hand side. Now my x is -113 and -2. There we have the starting points for each one of the 3 levels. So I can get rid of this piece of code again. Now, instead of telling the sprite or the character, my maze player, instead of telling him to go to specific numbers, I can now use the variables. I can say, go to the level 1x and go to the level 1y. The reason we need to do this is because we have different levels. This is also going to affect our wall code. So instead of saying if we are touching the wall, we need to go to this point, we're going to get rid of this because we're going to have to add a new rule. We are going to have to first check which level are we currently on. So I'm going to need 3 new if blank then rules, where I'm going to say, I'm going to need to check which level am I currently on. If the level equals 1, if the level equals 2, and if the level equals 3, what needs to happen? So if the level equals 1, we need to go to the level 1x and the level 1y. If the level equals 2 and if the level equals 3, we need to go to the level 2x, level 2y, level 3x, and level 3y. Now, after we have received the winner broadcast, that means we have finished level 1. So then we need to switch the backdrop to level 2. Then we're going to start another piece of code. We're going to say when the backdrop switches to level 2, first we need to make sure we're on the right costume. I need to be on costume 1. So if let's just make it switch over to level 2 quickly. So when the level equals 2, I need to switch the costume to 1. I need to set the size for this level, which is going to be 80 for me to make my character fit inside this maze. Then my character needs to go to the level 2x and the level 2y. So we know he's at the starting point. After this, I will need to make sure that my character is forever looking to make sure that if I touch the color of this stage's winning line, I'm going to have to broadcast, not winner, because then we're going to make it kick in level 2 again. This time we're going to have to say winner 2, so that we know he has now beaten the second level. And then we can say when we receive winner 2, we need to switch the costume, congratulate the player on beating level 2, and we need to switch to level 3. Now that we have switched to level 3, we can say when the backdrop switches to level 3, we need to change the costume back to 1. We need to set the size for this level, which is going to be a little bit smaller. And we have to go to the level 3x and the level 3y. When we touch the color of the third level's finish line, we need to broadcast winner 3. And then when we receive winner 3, we need to go to the corner, congratulate the player not on beating level 2, but beating the game, because now they've completed all 3 levels. And another thing we need to remember is that when we reach the finish lines, we want to start the sound cheer. So we cheer every time we reach the finish line. And we need to remember that when we touch the wall, before we send them to the starting points, we're going to have to add bonk, start sound bonk, to all 3 of our levels. So even when we're on level 3 and our character is at his starting position and we move around and we hit the wall, the character goes to that starting position. The code doesn't work, we might just need to refresh it quickly. And then we can test it. Take your character, moving to the starting point. We hear the cheer, congratulations. We go to the next level. Congratulations. Go to the third level. Reach the third level. And we have beaten the game. Okay, that is just a quick test to make sure that all this code works and that it kicks in everything that it needs to. It's going to be up to you to make your way through all the mazes. And if you want to add now different music for the different levels, all you need to do is duplicate this one, change it to level 2, level 3. You'll have to add 2 new songs. Let's do Dance Space, and I'm going to do Loops, Dance Magic, and now I can change this one, Dance Space, Dance Magic. Then, if we test this, and we go to the next level, and we go to the next level, okay, it seems like we have a bit of a glitch. When we switch between the levels, it's not stopping the previous level song. We might need to fix this with variables, but that I can maybe do in the next video to show you how to fix that with variables. For now, what we can do is just take them out of the forever loops. That will make it stop playing forever. And then when the song stops, it'll then start the new one. For Draw My Shape, it's fine because we are staying on that level for a long time. And that is the code for lesson 2. I don't think I've left anything out. We have the sound effects, we have the background music, we have all 3 levels. Yeah, that is it. So that's lesson 1 and lesson 2 completed.